Awesome. So thank you very much for everyone who's are able to attend. My name is Jimmy. I am the founder of Asian Leaders Alliance, which is one of the organizations as part of Gateway. So on my screen, as you see the Asian Leaders Alliance website, we do have a page for Gateway. And Gateway is an organization and a collaboration of five different organizations. Asian Business League of San Francisco, Asian Leaders Alliance, National Association of Asian American Professionals, Stand with Asian Americans, and Hawaii Chamber of Commerce of Northern California. This is a collaboration where we all come together to actually put on series of talks and sessions throughout the year for all our members to be part of. And this is kind of an idea where organizations can come together and work together to benefit all of our communities. And so today, ALA is hosting this main event for Gateway, and we have Amy here today talking. And she is going to talk about career, life, and everything else you might need or want to know about things that involve with that. So on that note, Amy, I am going to kick it off to you. I will let you share your screen and we could go.
Great. Let me know if I'm sharing the right screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go. Thank you, ALA, Jimmy, for having me here, and I'm so excited to be with everyone. And I am looking forward to a pretty intimate conversation with you guys around career planning, if you will. What I'm sharing today is a fairly broad framework or game plan template that should actually be helpful for those of you who are either trying to move up from where you are and you're feeling like your hard work alone is not really getting you the promotion that you think you deserve, or you may feel a little bit overwhelmed and trying to figure out, or feel a little bit lost, if you will, trying to figure out what's next in your career. So, the thought of career planning can be daunting to a lot of us. There's a lot of resources out there, a ton of different advice out there. It could get really overwhelming fast. And my goal today is really to help share a simple framework or a checklist for you to be more in control as you navigate your career planning. So it's great that you're actually here and you're taking some time. And hopefully, in the next 30, 40 minutes or so, as I go through the content, you should be able to gain two things from it at least, right? One of them is you should have a roadmap that gives you a lot more clarity around what you're already doing well and where perhaps you should focus more next as you're trying to figure out what's next, how do I get there? And then the next thing is at least a couple of specific actions that you can take to better position yourself to shift from this. I work hard, I have a lot of really solid skills to how can I make other people see that I am a hard worker with a lot of solid skills and advocate for myself to get that next role, regardless if it's a new role or a promotion that you're trying to achieve. So, like Jimmy said, feel free to, put in the comments if you have clarifying questions as we present. Otherwise, after we stop recording, feel free to come off mute or add your question in the chat and we can go deeper. Okay. Before we get into the content, I just want to share a little bit more about me so you know I'm just not just sharing things from textbooks. You probably saw from the invite a lot of the background bullet points, if you will. I've spent over 20 years of my career in tech across sales, business operations, marketing roles across these different tech companies. And I've moved up from an individual contributor to a senior leader, building and leading global marketing teams at companies like TikTok and Google. My undergrad was actually computer science, and then I transitioned more into sales and marketing throughout my entire path. I've hired, promoted, mentored quite a lot of people while I was in corporate. And then 2 years ago, I made the brave decision of leaving corporate climb and focus on what I want to do, which is helping other people thrive. Now, as a ICF certified coach, I've worked with over 350 professionals, helping them navigate career next steps, regardless if it's looking for their next job or trying to get that promotion or navigating career transitions. I just love that I get to leverage all of my past experiences and skill sets and really, share frameworks like what I'm sharing with you today to help other people not only gain clarity for what's next for them, but also build tactics to get there. And lastly, you see that all of my different identities as an Asian immigrant, a woman of color, a mom, an introvert, all of these different things really contribute to how I show up as a coach and as a human being. Okay, so before diving into the framework and the tips, I want to really call out and name some patterns that I often see that slows down our trajectory, especially within our Asian professional community. There's, of course, a lot of nuances depending on factors like if you're an immigrant or if you're first generation, second generation. And there's a lot of systemic challenges that we all face too, which is a big topic for a different day. I just want to call out that we're here to focus on being clear with the rules of the game that you're currently playing and see what's within your immediate control to influence so that some of the traits, like some of these traits that you see may have come up during our upbringing, right? Try to be humble, don't brag, don't exaggerate our abilities, avoid risks, and just be happy when we have stability. Um, and also, there are some traits such as, work hard, put our heads down. The hard work will speak for itself. Frankly, some of these traits, like this last one, may actually help us earlier on in our career, right? When you're early in your career, you do a good job, you build the reputation of, oh, Amy is somebody I can give her work and she's gonna get it done. But as your roles start to get bigger and as you continue to move up, everything becomes a little bit more ambiguous. And some of these same traits that ended up supporting us in the past are actually slowing us down. So I wanted to name these things because I want you to think about and reflect. If you see yourself here, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that, as you play the game, the rules continue to change and the skills required at each level continues to evolve as well. So that's why we're here to talk about some of the tips to help you navigate this shift. Okay, so why does everything on the previous page matter? This is where whether or not you're aiming to move up internally or land a new role externally, these are the realities that you're facing with trying to navigate your career growth, right? You're constantly being compared to other people and often based on very incomplete information. And the decisions are happening behind closed doors when you're not there, right? So a lot of us are not really taught how these systems work or how to navigate them. And that's why today I want to make sure that, you keep these realities in mind and realize that it's no longer like when we're back in school, you take a test, you give the correct answers and you get an A. You're actually being compared to a lot of other people with very similar qualifications and you're competing with people who may have better visibility in front of the decision makers than you. And all of these decisions are happening behind closed doors, and you don't even know exactly how the decisions are made. So, keeping all of these things in mind will help you be more intentional as you take actions to think about what actions do you want to take and how can you make your hard work and your capabilities be truly seen by those people who are making those hiring and promotion decisions. So the goal is not about doing more, but be more intentional with your actions at different stages of your job planning journey. Now we get into the framework. You see this as part of my background too, and that's what I named my practice. This is something that I came up with when I first became a manager at Google and continued to build and refine throughout the years. And a lot of what I'm sharing today is not only based on my lived experiences, but also based on the feedback from clients I work with. And people tell me what's worked for them to feel more in control and less overwhelmed, and what are things that they feel like we should call out and watch out for in the job search journey. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. And this dream, plan, do, live framework actually applies whether or not you're trying to get a promotion or land something new, or even other aspects of your life. The tactics may be different at each stage, depending on your goal, but the thought process is the same. It's all about before you jump into the doing, jump into the action, think about what is the clarity and strategy you need to have first, because actions can become really reactive and overwhelming fast if you don't have clarity on exactly what you're going after. And also to think about this, if you're not even clear on what roles you're going after and what strengths and value you bring to the table, how can other people, you can't really expect other people to see that clearly as well, right? So that's why clarity is important. And we build a plan, and then we move from scattered reactive efforts to intentional progress. And we'll walk through on the next 4 slides. We'll walk through each phase one by one. And my goal is to share some reflective questions for you to assess where you are today, and then some practical actions you should be taking for that specific phase in order to build momentum. So as we go through, feel free to like follow along, assess where you're at, try to uh, assess what you're currently doing well and where you can refine and optimize further. Okay. So this dream stage or this phase, this is the slide I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time on than the rest, because as the first phase, this is most of the time the clients tell I work with tell me it's the hardest or the most overlooked part for your career planning journey, if you will. And you should be able to clarify two things after this phase. It's all about being clear on what you want and why they should want you. I actually heard one of my clients say it's like Barney, all about I love you, you love me. So this is the phase where you clarify the foundational pieces of exactly what are you trying to go after, and why would the people choose you to fill the space or the role or the promotion that you're going after. Okay. So the first thing is, what do you actually want? Like I was saying earlier while we were waiting for people to join, is many of us grew up being told, just get good grades, get into a good school, find a good job, and find a stable place to, stay. And not a lot of us had the space to really be clear on what do I truly want and what does good or success look like to me. So this is why you want to take some time and assess what is this next role that you're really looking for, and make sure it checks off both what matters to you and the value you bring to the table. So think about first, when you are trying to list out what truly matters to me, you need to be able to stack rank top three, maybe five things at most in terms of things that you're truly like non-negotiables as you're looking for your next thing, right? Are you really looking for a promotion? Or you're actually really caring about a specific skill set that you need to gain because that's the skill set that's necessary for you to continue down the path that you want to go down? Or is it really just more money because you're like, I want to accelerate the amount of money I make for the next couple of years? That's going to allow me to retire sooner. Or is it flexibility? A lot of times people will throw out a lot of things that they say are important to them. The key here is really to be able to stack rank them and be honest with what trade-offs are you willing to give, so that you can be super focused on what really matters to you.
Amy, I wanted to jump really quick into this, and I think this is kind of a very important thing, right? I think when we're younger, especially as Asians, we're like, we should go all in for everything, right? We should make that ton of money. We should get that promotion. We should do all these things, but like, it sounds like what you're saying, like, you have to understand what you truly need or want, and it may be money. It may be just having the flexibility to take time off when you need to. I mean, I think
Exactly.
as you go through your journey, how what are some of the things to look? I know understand like, everyone's a little bit different, but what are some of the things people could do to help get them to realize that, or more concretely, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's why what I just said is really important because a lot of times people don't take the time to think about what is truly my non-negotiables. And this is not my non-negotiables for the rest of my life. As you're doing career planning, you should be reviewing this every 6 months or a year because, before you're married, after you're married, before you have kids, after you have kids, when you move locations, move to a different country, all these different external factors will change what's really important to you. So really think about what's truly important to you. What are you optimizing for? And you need to be clear on your North Star, right? So that's why I tell people you need to be able to think about what is important to me. Even when people say, I want growth, that means so many different things to different people. You need to be clear on what do I mean when I say I want growth? Is it a very specific skill set I want? Or is it that I'm trying to, increase my scope because the bigger scope is going to give me the money that I'm looking for or the title that I'm looking for. But that also goes to like, how do you define success? A lot of us, somebody mentioned midlife crisis, right? Like a lot of us are constantly seeking the external validation. If you are deciding on what's important to you, like you look at all the factual stuff. How much money do I have in my savings? What does my life look like with my family? If I can build an ideal life for the next year or two, what do I want to prioritize? Really think time and be clear on that. That's step number one. But step number two is also you don't want to just be like, ideally, this is what I want to do. You need to be clear on what are your superpowers and your strength that you bring to the table so that people who are making the decisions of whether or not to offer you the thing or the role that you want can see that you bring value to them as well. Does that make sense, Jimmy?
Oh, definitely does make sense. We did have a comment about like how does one measure impact of a soft skills?
Oh, yeah. So this is something we probably don't have time to go deep into, but if people have very specific examples of their roles, you can think about this. So, for example, because I'm in the marketing space, I see a lot of people say generic things like, I'm a experienced lifecycle marketer who's great at doing marketing campaigns, right? There are ways for you to turn that into more of an impact statement by saying, I am an experienced lifecycle marketer who was able to drive $20 million incremental revenue by running 10 different lifecycle campaigns end to end from strategy to planning to execution while using data driven tools to build my campaigns. This is just like me riffraffing like on the spot, but there are a lot of ways for you to really think about this is why when I say write down your strength, don't just write down, I think I'm a good life cycle marketer. You need to be able to write down the so what, like what's the impact, what's the results, what's the value that you can actually bring to the table by having that skill set.
This
Make
is
sense?
this makes me really think about I think they have that thing called for the interview process, the STAR methodology, which is like situation, task, action, and result. And I think
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing is you're kind of saying that in terms of like these soft skills you have, like try to phrase it in a way where there's an action and a result, and the key thing around that is the results, some level of measurable results coming out of it.
Yeah. So unlike the non-negotiables where I said stack rank the top three, right now at this dream phase, I'm trying to ask you to take inventory of all of your different strengths, right? This is where you take inventory of everything that I know I can do and the impact I can drive because of these strengths. because this again becomes your comprehensive toolbox where you're like, I'm clear on the inventory of my toolbox, what's in there, what kind of tools I have, and what kind of results I can deliver based on the usage of that specific tool, if you will. And then once you have more clarity on the roles that you're going after, that's where the translation comes in because your job is not to dump the entire toolbox in front of people and be like, I have all these different capabilities. You figure out what's good for you or for the specific role. Your job is to make it easier for the hiring manager or the manager that's looking to hire someone into that more senior role to see the very specific skill sets and tools that you bring to the table that fits that requirement. So this is the inventory taking stage, and then you need to do the work to translate it into what matches what they're looking for. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Um, I have this what energizes you point on here as well because a lot of you mentioned that you've worked in your space for 10 plus years. I wanted to add this not just so that you can be clear on what gives you energy and what energizes you, but a lot of times what really differentiate a candidate is not just that you're able to do the work, but you can show that you have the passion and the drive and the desire for that role as well. So if you're able to clearly articulate, I'm not only great as a life cycle marketer, but that's my passion. Like I love making data-driven decisions and build campaigns and see the results. And that's the part that's also going to differentiate you. And it's also going to help you really separate just listing everything, like having a laundry list, a wiki page of you when you're trying to, build a resume or trying to tell people what you're great at, to really be selective about which areas and which strengths that you want to highlight. Okay. So again, the output of this step, everything is going to be the grounding foundation to help you assess what exactly that you're trying to push for next or trying to gain next and what specific skill sets will that's in your toolbox that's going to help you get there. Okay. All right, so let's move to the next one. Plan. Okay. Once you know where you're going after, we need to understand as much as possible how decisions are actually made and who's making them so you can take intentional actions. So if you think about the dream phase, focus more on you, right? Self-awareness, clarity around what you want, what you bring to the table. The planning phase you can't skip because this is essentially the phase where you want to understand as much as possible about the system you're navigating, the rules of the game that you're playing, so that you can adjust your actions, right? So the input here is where you collect as much real data points as possible so that you can build a plan. A lot of times when we figure out certain roles that we want to go after, we only look at a couple of job descriptions, we make assumptions of what they're truly looking for, and then we throw out our, wiki page of ourselves. And hopefully people will see that we have the skill set they're looking for. But my ask here is if you do the extra step of homework to actually go and figure out who can give me the insights into what this role that I'm eyeing for, what are they actually looking for? If push comes to shove, what are the specific skills that they would prioritize over everything else? Who are the actual decision makers? To push for this promotion or to push for this role, who can help me identify what the next roles are? This is where you do all of this data gathering to see the lay of the land and to help you build a more intentional action plan, right? And one thing I wanted to point out here, especially for Asian professionals, is even when we're, reaching out and networking with people, let's be intentional of who's who. Because there are people who are going to be your mentors who can give you some guidance based on their own experiences. There will be people you reach out to hopefully gather a little bit more information about the specific roles that you think you want to go into. You can be like, hey, it looks like you and I have a very similar background. I'm trying to make that jump that you have jumped. I want 15 minutes of your time to, figure out how to move from this role to this role. Let's chat. So just be very intentional with who you're reaching out to. And then for those of you who are looking for promotions within your company, sponsors are so important. And this is something that a lot of us overlook. It's not just about, your manager having the visibility. Sometimes it's not even about your skip level having the visibility. You really need to identify who else is going to be in that calibration discussion. Who else is going to be in those promotional discussions that you can make an intentional effort to say, those are the people that now that I have a clear, what I bring to the table story to tell, I'm going to be intentional about who I tell the story to. So for a lot of my clients, even myself, frankly, like networking intentionally is not the easiest thing to do, but like everything I'm sharing here, it's all learnable. So it's all about, the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it, especially now that you know what to look out for and which areas you want to be more intentional. This planning phase is not about overthinking or overdoing engineering things. It's really about you're not doing this alone. And how can you build a plan and build a village of supporters to do this more effectively before you jump into the action? Okay.
Yeah, I also wanted to add in for that one is I think as we look through this, it's not just a single route, right? You're building a roadmap that has multiple routes to where you want to obtain, right? So
Mhm.
if you want the freedom of being able to take time off, I mean, you find a different role. You could switch industries. You could actually be an entrepreneur. There are different things to achieve the same goals that you want to obtain. And that's the dream phase where you're figuring out where you want to be, where are these bigger picture places you want to go, and how you want to be able to e- experience that. And then the planning is about how do we get there. And you should never restrict yourselves to one way getting there. You should be looking
Yeah.
at different options because options give us opportunity. And if we keep our
Yeah.
eyes only on one road, we miss out on a lot of opportunities.
That's such an important point that we're not gonna, have time to go super deep into, but it's so important for you to define what actually matters to you. It's like that saying, when you stop giving a fuck about what other people think, then that's where you'll have a lot more clarity of what's important to you and do things that truly matters to you. Okay. Okay, so jumping into the fun execution part that most of us are very familiar with, all of us know that we need to take actions, and especially the Asian American group, we know like we're action oriented, we can get things done. um, you know, you can have your next goal be more clearly defined. You're now more comfortable with articulating your core strengths. You know that you need to update your resume. You know that you need to go and talk to your boss or skip level to advocate for yourself. But this phase is not about checking those boxes, right? Just because you know what you need to do now and take those actions, that's not enough. It's about taking intentional action and keeping in mind at this phase of your plan, if you will, that your goal is to make it easy or make it easier for others to say yes to support you or to give you that promotion or the role that you're going after. Just make it easy. Everything you do, use that lens and be like, am I making it easy for people to look at my resume and immediately see my background is exactly what they're looking for and they don't have to do the digging? Or when I'm having a network conversation, am I going in a roundabout way, trying to fake pretend to build a connection before getting to the point? Or can I make it easy for them to say yes to me for a 5 minute conversation that gives me exactly what I need? Right. So a lot of us are really great executors, and let's make sure we're also strong storytellers at this phase too. It's about making sure every single resume bullet point, every outreach conversation, every interview answer that you're preparing for to reflect the clarity from your dream phase work and the strategy from your plan phase work. Because taking action is not the hard part. taking the right action with the right people, with the right message, that's what's going to be moving the needle. So when you're looking at this list of outputs that I have here that you should, be able to action on, ask yourself, does this actually reflect, does my answer here actually reflect the clarity that I defined? And does my positioning align with what the role is really looking for? Am I making myself visible in front of the right people who can truly advocate for me? And it may really be uncomfortable to, get so used to self advocating. But if you want to be seen, practice until you become more comfortable. One of my sayings, I hate the fake it till you make it saying, but the way I think about it is practice till you become it. Like we were not born knowing how to run, but you practice it and eventually you get well at it and you know how to run, right? So same thing here. Practice till you become more comfortable and you become better at it. And this last phase, I also want to highlight because this is something many career conversations also ignore or overlook, especially within our community. Because in this current competitive environment, resilience really matters. As it matters as much as having a strategy or having an action plan, right? But let's face it, even when you have the clarity, have a great plan, have solid execution, you will still face rejections. You're still going to get ghosted. I've heard from multiple people, multiple of my clients that say, oh my gosh, I get ghosted more on LinkedIn than on Tinder, right? So that's just the reality that we face. There will be rejections, there will be ghostings, and this whole entire process of pushing for that next thing, pushing for the promo, pushing for the next role, it doesn't happen overnight. And it can become very emotionally taxing, right? Taxing. Um, so when you get discouraged, you know your confidence is going to start to drop. And when your confidence drops, you start to take random actions just to maybe feel productive. And people can actually see. I don't know if you have observed this yourself, but you can probably see sometimes strong performers that you've seen all of a sudden become, the bitter, more frustrated teammate just because they're not getting the promotion that they're looking for and they start to burn out. So this is where you need to remind yourself progress is not just that final job offer or that final promotion. And your worth is not tied to the outcome of a single application or a single, promo conversation. You need to think about what are some of the progress that you can call out and celebrate. A strong network conversation, somebody who actually responded to you versus rejecting you. You're able to tell your story a little bit clearer, or you got some really thoughtful feedback. Those are all really meaningful wins because they're all data points that's going to help you to know what's working well and what needs adjusting so that you can keep going. This is all about the input here. It's all about temperature, taking a temperature check, right? Self awareness. And then the output is all about sustainability. What do you need to maintain that routine, to keep that energy going, to reflect and adjust? Because I have to say, this is probably the number one thing my clients, when they ended up landing new roles and landing new jobs, they always say, please remind all your other clients to just, keep their mental energy up because it's really exhausting and they have to make sure they keep going. Okay. So these four things, clarity, strategy, visibility, energy, that's what the dream, plan, do, live framework is really helping you to build. The dream gives you the clarity, the plan gives you the strategy, the doing part is what creates the visibility, and then the live part is what protects your energy. So I hope everyone takes some time, just even a few seconds, to think about which one is the weakest for you today, right now. And then perhaps that's your answer in terms of where do you want to focus a little bit more of your time next. Um, there are a lot of real systemic challenges out there that we face, the system that we're trying to navigate, the game we're trying to play, it's not necessarily fair all the time, right? So that's why organizations like ALA and the various ERG groups matter deeply. But while all that is happening at the systemic level, think about how to leverage this framework to help you focus on what you can own, regardless of the system. How can you stay resilient and be intentional? And this is again, like I said, the feedback from the clients that I hear is, when you have clarity and a plan, that's where the confidence will come more naturally, right? And when you have the confidence and show up more confidently in these network conversations, in these like promotion conversations, performance review conversations, your how you're being perceived is going to start to shift as well, and conversations change, doors, open. So really take a pause, take a deep breath, and then think about how you can create your own version of this game plan that I just talked about and focus on what's within your control. And even if you just start with one stage this week or this month, it's all about building momentum and move forward with clarity. Okay, so I know we have some time to go through the Q&A. I tried to cram a lot of things that I typically go deep with my clients on over the course of several months. But I'm hoping that you can leave today with a little bit more structure and feel a little less overwhelmed in terms of where do I even start if I'm trying to attack this next career goal, right? You own your own career. You're in a game where companies are always going to be prioritizing their business needs. So you can choose to get frustrated with the rules of the game, or you can choose to focus on understanding the rules and the limitations, choose your path, build your story, build your allies that can help you succeed in the long run. Okay. So I'm going to pause there. Jimmy, I don't know if we stop the recording or, wrap a little bit before we take questions.
Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to let me do one wrap up and then we will stop the recording. But I'm going to share my screen really quick. So as you all heard, there's a lot of things we could do. A lot of it's about figuring out, finding what your dream is, where you want to be, where you want to go, figuring out plans, getting that support and things you need to do. But then the key thing is also to just reevaluate on a cadence on where you are and celebrate your wins and then adjust to it. So, on those notes, one of the things I do want to let you all know is there is resources out there. There's obviously resources you can reach out that you can find on the web. There are some stuff here. So Gateway, we have been doing this series for a few years. So if you go on YouTube, we do have a series of videos that are uploaded from our previous sessions. And this one with Amy will be uploaded also, hopefully within the next week. But you could find other topics that has been addressed in terms of like, there's one with how to overcome biases and dismantle the Asian glass ceiling with Joy. There's one about, I think a lot of people would have interest in, which was, I believe it's somewhere in here. One was salary negotiations. So another one is personal branding. And so you'll find some stuff. You go just YouTube Gateway Professional, and you'll find that we have a series, or you can find the playlist on the ALA Gateway or the ALA YouTube channel. And we also have a Gateway channel. And then for those who are looking for other opportunities, ALA, we just recently put together called the ALA Job Referral Network. So this one's a little bit different. For those of you who are willing to refer people to your employer, there is a link here that's called ALA.FYI AFN list. It's a form that you can fill out, and this is you will saying that I'm willing to refer other people to my employer. And this is a way for us to be able to create a list of this for those of you who are looking to be able to find people who are willing to refer you to their employers. Because we all know for a fact that at most companies, at least 50% of the roles that are filled by referrals, not by from their just submission from online. So this one would help you get a higher chance, but you will get information about how do you reach out to that individual, information that individual, like where to find the job listings for that company, and what they're willing and not willing to do to help refer. So feel free to use this to look for your next opportunity and reach out to people to figure out how they can help you. But also, if you're able to, feel free to add yourself to this using the form so that we can help this community as a whole. And other things that are going to come down the pipeline, Amy and a few of us, we do have a ALA does have a Slack channel, a Slack workspace. We have a channel dedicated for careers and job exploration. And we are planning to kind of put together a series of talks and other topics as resources for everyone here. But we also are very, very emphasizing you all to just be part of the conversation, have chats, and talk to people. We need to have a village and a community for each other in order for us to excel and move forward in this, right? And so take advantage of the community, be part of the community. Let's help each other on that next opportunity or that next phase.